Hi, everyone. Welcome to the
Hi,
live stream.
hi everyone, welcome to the live stream for the ArcGIS Maps SDK for JavaScript. We're going to share the latest updates in version 4.33. Please share where you're joining the live stream from in the chat. We're very happy to spend the next half hour with you guys. Here we have 6 of us from the product team of the JavaScript Maps SDK. And we're going to first do a round of introductions with our name, title, where we're from, and if you like lake, ocean, or mountains the best. So I'll start. I am Yishan Hu, or Emily. I'm the product manager for web development technologies. I'm joining from Morristown, New Jersey, and I'm a lake person. Next up, Heather.
Hey everybody, I'm Heather Gonzago. I am a product engineer with the JavaScript SDK, focused primarily on widgets, feature table, editing, form work. I am joining you from Charlotte, North Carolina, and probably like mountains and lake, to be truthful. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Stefan. I'm a 3D graphics software developer responsible for one of the two teams developing the Maps SDK, the 3D Maps SDK for JavaScript. And I'm joining you from Locarno in Ticino, in the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland, and that should give you a clue that I'm a mountain person. Christian.
I'm Christian. I work as a product engineer on the JavaScript SDK, primarily on data visualization projects, Arcade, and AI assistants. I'm joining from Redlands, California, and I am a lake person, probably more than those other things. Noah.
Nice. Hi, I'm Noah Sager. I'm also a product engineer on the Maps SDK team. I specialize in printing, routing, and labeling. I'm coming from you from Chicago, so I think I have to say I'm a lake person, but really I'm a mountain person. So with that, I'll hand it to Anne.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name's Ann Fitz. I'm also a product engineer on the JavaScript SDK, where I focus on our symbology and visualization, along with some of the work that we've been doing on components. I am joining from Los Angeles, and I love all of the above, lakes, mountains, and beach. If I had to pick, I would say beach with mountains around it, if that's allowed. Yeah, back to you, Emily.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I see in the chat, we have people from California, Colorado, mostly in the US from this time. Oh, a friend from Costa Rica. That's awesome. Yeah, so let's dive into the demos. First up, like Heather is going to show our latest updates with batch editing.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Wonderful. Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys just a couple web applications that work with the editor widget. The focus here is to show you the new functionality that we introduced with the batch attribute updates. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just get started. So first things first, what you're going to notice right off the bat here is the new UI. We have a selection toolbar. And within the selection toolbar here, if you've worked with the editor anytime prior to this release, you may have noticed that we just were able to you can only select one feature. So that's going to be the very, very first thing that you're going to see there. So we have the selection toolbar. With that comes a pan. We have the select by point. We have a select by rectangle and the select by lasso. So for this demonstration, I'm just going to do a quick select by rectangle. Go on in here. And what we'll notice here is we've got a ton of features selected, 82 trees to be exact, and one park. We have the ability to go on in here now. In addition to that, based upon however many layers you have selected, it will allow you to then go in and filter this out. So I'm going to go in and just focus on the trees. Still, we have quite a few. So I'm going to go in and we're just going to edit the trees that are parks. So parks and recreation. So we have 13 selected trees. And one thing I want to take note of here is we have this ellipses. So you can go on in, you can, based upon whatever it is that you need to do, you can zoom to the selected feature set. You can go in and actually, if you've got multiple layers in there, you can choose to only select that specific layer. You can unselect it. You can also go in and choose to edit all those features within that layer as well. Choosing to edit these features is the same exact thing as if you went in here and just clicked on this button. You can also go in, click on the individual features and just edit like you're used to if you've done that before in the past. But we're going to focus on the batch attribute. So if we go in, I'm just going to click on the go in and just start the batch attribute for the 13 selected features. What you'll notice now is we have this batch attribute form that's brought in. If you have a pre-configured form on your layer, like I do in this case, it's saved within that web map, that batch attribute will automatically bring that in. So in this particular case, all I'm doing is I want to change this maintenance. So I'm going to change this maintained by, we're going to have it do, we're going to do public works instead. So everything is going to be public works. And you'll notice here, as soon as I did that, the symbology also updated because I had this, the symbology within this web map saved based upon that particular field value. So I'm going to update that. So very, very basic batch attribute update workflow there. Another thing that I wanted to point out here, and this seems pretty straightforward, but it's a big ask and something that we've been needing to put in for a while now. If we go in here and let's just say, I just put these in for this demonstration purpose, but I want to just select a bunch of features, and get rid of them. They don't need to be here anymore. So I've got these 19 trees here that I just selected. If I click on edit, go in, I can now delete everything. All gone. Wonderful. So what we have there, just a very, very basic workflows, just updating, just what are the values within specific features. I filtered those down based upon a specific attribute value, but you might have something a little bit more complex. So within this application, I actually have some selected features, and this particular layer has edit these benches. One of them will automatically update this recreational zone gets updated based upon wherever these benches are located. So whatever, if they're in a beach area, playground, whatever it may be. In addition to that, I have another value expression that's set for the priorities. So based upon the condition of that bench, that priority will then automatically get updated. So, we've had a bunch of guys have been doing a lot of good work, and, the maintenance fellows, and they've gone in and they've cleaned things up. So we're going to change the condition from fair to good. And now you'll notice that maintenance priority should now be updated to low. We don't need to have that higher up on the list. In addition to that, hey, it's summertime. So let's just go in and we're going to change, and we're going to rotate some of these benches around. We're going to move it to the beach. Notice that when I moved it from the playground area to this beach, everything gets updated. So there's 3 parts here that I wanted to show. We have the batch attribute updates. We have that delete. In addition to that, we also have that ability to do modifying, like bulk modifying batch geometries, which is basically what I just did by moving these, not a reshape, but just moving them to a different location. If I update this, should go back in, you'll notice here, these updates are then saved back. All right. So a lot of information kind of thrown pretty quickly within a couple of these these demonstrations. Last, I just want to point out within our release notes, we do have a section on batch editing. There is a little tiny section here that a lot of people kind of may miss sometimes to show additional considerations. If you click on that, there are some limitations to what you can and cannot do with batch attribute editing right now. We will be improving as releases move forward, but the main ones that I want to focus on here is the limit of 500 features. So if you don't have a form template, or even if you do have a form template, but 50 features if you're working with what we call complex arcade expressions. So for example, like that very last that last one that I showed you, where we're working with various like feature set, various layers, and performing an intersect and pulling that information, that would be considered a complex arcade expression. And if I had more than 50 selected, it would not allow me to edit. I would get a message within the editor indicating that I would have to, there's a reason for that. And that's the reason why you can't edit. You just have to lower that selection count. Okay, so I think I got the main ones covered, and I'm just going to pass it on back to Emily.
Great. Thank you, Heather. If you have any questions, please feel free to post on the chat. We'll get them answered. So far, it looks like we don't currently have any questions related to this demo, but if you do, feel free to post on the chat. So next up, Stefan is going to introduce our amazing 3D update.
Yes, thank you, Emily. So I'm gonna walk you through the updates we have in 3D. I have 5 bigger topics here today, and we are starting with Focus Area. Focus Area is a new feature which is part of a presentation topic, where we have also, for example, slide titles or storing things like pop-up in slides. So Focus Area is a way to focus the viewer on a certain region in your scene. Here, for example, we are telling a story about the Mont Blanc. And first we show the Alps. This is really in a 3D area, and the outside is dimmed here. And then as we go in and really talk about a specific mountain, we can have another focus area showing that. So let me quickly show you how that works in Scene Viewer. Here I have a integrated mesh layer. And let's say I want to redevelop this area here. So I have new up here focus areas. I can create a focus area by clicking through. Let's quickly and roughly go around that area. And then once I'm done, the focus area shows up. I have 2 different styles, so I can darken or brighten the outside. And the difference really to things like having a polygon covering this and influencing the shading of the integrated mesh like this is that focus areas are really a 3D, they really highlight the full 3D volume of the data which is in focus. So if you look from the side and you have these buildings in front, they still stay dimmed out, but you see the outline of the focus area, and it's a very 3D volumetric style of visualization. You can obviously create these focus areas programmatically as well. So here we have the sample application, which is part of the release notes as well. And the way you define a focus area is that you create a polygon, then put that polygon into a focus area with, for example, here an outline color, a reddish one, and then add that focus area to the view, and that will then show your focus areas. The second topic I want to talk about is 3D tiles layers. So 3D tiles layers are these OGC standards which we support since a few releases. But with this release, we fully support all the features that we have for our i3S integrated meshes as well. So here I have a 3D tiles layer, and we added now in this release support for, let me first delete the focus area here, support for modifications. So I can go into the layer, configure a modification, and then draw it here. And let's say we want to just flatten out this area to put a new building on top because we're redeveloping it. I use the replace operation, and that will
Okay, seems like we lost Stefan. Maybe we can answer the questions first. We see 2 batch editing questions on the chat. There's one about if batch editing allow for feature-only updates or it's just an experience builder limitation. And the other question is, what is the full description of what would pass as a complex expression? So Heather, would you like to chime in?
Okay, so the last one, the complex arcade expression, that would be pretty much anything that works with feature set functions, portal functions, like artificial intelligence, the AI functions. Some of you have been maybe working with that. Christian can definitely talk more on that end with the arcade stuff. But basically anything, it's just, like it says, the complex, right? If it's very basic, like for example, we call them like we in on the API end, we look at them where we call it like the async expressions. So if you're calling between data sets, between layers, that would be considered complex. If you're just doing, basic things like, hey, I've got an arcade expression that goes in and, just does some basic string manipulation and it updates it, within that field, like your string, whatever it may be, that's pretty straightforward. Anything that's going to require you to go between like that, between layers, relationships, your county related tables, stuff like that, that is going to be considered complex and will be limited to how many you can have selected. Hope that answers your question. The second one, I believe, I'm not super familiar with how the Experience Builder works on this end, but I think what you're referring to is there's various modes. There's like an attribute table mode or attribute mode and like a map only mode. I think that's what you're talking about there. I'm not sure the Experience Builder folks, I don't think the attribute mode works right now on that end. And that is something that we're still getting requirements from them on the specifics and what we need to do to kind of meet the needs that are needed on the Experience Builder. And they do use our widget, the editor widget, but with some bells and whistles attached as well to it. So hopefully that answers your question. But I think what you're trying to get at is if it's only features only right now, yes, you'd have to have the features with it, not just straight standalone attributes. And I'm not sure if there's any other questions. And hopefully Stefan's back.
Yes. Yeah, so it would be great if we can drop a link that shows the limitation. And yeah, and I think we have Stefan back. Keep showing the focus area, Stefan.
Okay. Did I show you how to do it programmatically already, or did I drop out before?
I think you were at the step before that.
All right, the step before that was showing it in Scene Viewer. Unfortunately, I kept talking and that's gone, but let me just show you the programmatic way. So you can create focus areas programmatically by creating your area as a polygon, then creating a focus area with this polygon as a geometry and the other focus area properties such as the outline color and the title of it, and then adding that focus area to the view. Since the focus area outside effect applies to all focus area, that's not defined on an individual focus area, but on all focus areas, so that I can switch between the dark and the bright mode here. Then the second topic I want to talk about today is 3D tiles. I already showed you that once, but I wasn't live anymore, so let's restart here. So this is the integrated mesh layer we've seen before. It's a 3D tiles layer, which is an OGC standard. And with this release, we are completing the story of fully supporting all the features that we have for i3S integrated meshes, also for 3D tiles layer integrated meshes. Most notably, we are supporting now mesh modifications. So I can have this project area, which we focused on earlier. Now I actually want to put in the building here. So I'm just gonna outline the whole thing. And then once I'm done, I can do a replace operation to just flatten that area. And now it's flat. I can save it in a web scene and put another building in here. And the second feature we add is support for a clipping area in local mode with integrated meshes with 3D tiles. And as I said, this really outlines our commitment to support this layer in the same full feature set as we have for our I3S layers. Then here I'm just showing you the sample application to show you that you can also create these I3S modifications, with integrated mesh modifications, both I3S and 3D tiles, programmatically by here using the sketch view model. So we define how the sketch symbol will look like, create the sketch view model, and then once the sketch view model updates, it will call this update integrated mesh method, which sets a new scene modification on our integrated mesh layer. And just to show you that this works in the same way, I create a new modification here, just one with 4 vertices, so it goes a bit faster. And then the mesh will update. Since I'm streaming, it's a bit slower. If it doesn't work, here we go. It's not updating and now it's cut out. Next topic I want to talk about is layer-based scale ranges. So scale ranges is a concept which has existed in 2D maps for a long time, and we did support it as well in 3D, but the support was really different per layer type. And with this release, we are switching all 3D layers over to a more consistent way of handling scale ranges, which will allow you to actually offer maps in 3D also use in a useful way to use scale ranges. So I have an example here where at this scale, I see a heat map of the various road accidents in Zurich together with the 3D buildings. And as I'm zooming in to an area and I'm crossing the scale level to go below 1000, you will see that now I see the individual accidents. I can also probably click on them. Yes, and get information about the accident. And furthermore, I did replace the 3D buildings with an integrated mesh to give me more context where the accident actually happened. And in previous versions, already we used a different scale, which wasn't quite consistent. You see that they're different, but also here, if I go in, you see that things somewhat randomly change. The mesh gets cut off in the background, and I didn't really have a good way to meaningfully use scale ranges to create a map. Next up, I have two smaller improvements on our tools and analyzers. The first one is for the shadow cast. The shadow cast has the mode to show you shadows which areas which are in shadow above a certain threshold. Here the threshold is configured for 3 hours. And new, we also have the option that you can still see the discrete shadow areas where it's in shadow for for less than an hour, for more than an hour, and so on in this combined mode. This was a request we had from users to really combine these two modes to give you a more complex but also more informative visualization of the shadow casting. And the second one is all the analyzers objects such as slice, dimension, viewshed, and so on now have a place method, which allows you, when I start editing, to immediately place a slice in the scene. And that's really just a small but very useful feature to place interactive analyzers in your applications. And then the last feature in 3D is one which is more of an under the hood feature, where we really keep working on performance and memory usage to support also lower end devices or allow you to load more data. One thing we did add in this release is client-side texture compression, where if your source data, such as with satellite imagery, is uncompressed JPEGs, we actually do compress them into a format which the GPU understands, which saves a lot of memory. And this compression comes really at no cost to the application because it happens asynchronously and in a web worker in the background to compress the data. And while that is happening, we show the uncompressed data and then just swap it out very quickly. And you can see this is a very simple 3D scene with just satellite data and elevation. But this GPU library here is actually just intercepting the WebGL calls and then showing us how much memory we use in this scene. And it was previously 260 megabytes, and now it's down to 160 megabytes. So we are saving 100 megabytes for texture data just here at no visible cost. And as I move around, of course, this data changes a bit, but we are always much better now. This texture compression right now we have enabled for tiled raster layers, which are draped on the ground, and some GLTF texture combinations and blend modes for 3D models, which you can use in a scene. And we will extend that usage of texture compression to other layers and data sets in the future. And with that, back to Emily.
Great. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Stefan. So we see a few questions in the chat. We're going to answer them and then keep showing, and we're going to answer them in the chat and keep showing our demos. Next up, Christian is going to share the spike maps.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. Is that coming through, Emily?
Yep.
Okay, there. So yes, I'll talk about a new theme we introduced in smart mapping called Spike, the Spike theme. And so just brief introduction to smart mapping. In our core SDK, we have a number of utility functions that generate renderers for your layers. And we refer to these utility functions as smart mapping functions. And within our size module, we have the ability to create size renders or renders that change your symbol size based off of a data value. And there's a number of different themes available, including these here: high to low, above and below, above, below. And those are all meant for generating different symbol configurations and breakpoints for that. But the new theme available is Spike. So by default, we get this high to low theme, which uses a graduated symbol. So it changes the area of your marker symbol based off the data value. The difference with Spike is that rather than use that circle marker by default, it will create this spike symbol, and it will scale the height of the y-axis of that symbol by the data value only. So it's not x and y, just the y. As you can see, the API for generating this is quite simple. You just have to provide your layer, a reference to your map view, and then you set your theme. There's and as well as your data values, such as the field here. In this case, it's total housing units. There's some other options available. So in the case of Spike, you can set different symbol styles. I'll touch on this more in a bit later. But in this case, we're using a gradient symbol. So while this is a nice developer-friendly API, it's still probably not the best thing to do unless you're building some kind of a data exploration application where you want people to generate different styles. The better approach really is to use Map Viewer for this. And so new in Map Viewer is the ability to generate these styles. So in this case, I've got a layer that shows all the counties that produce cotton in the United States. And if I open up the style panel here, and select a field, I'm just going to select average upland cotton production per year. And by default, I get the color style come through. But if I go down here and select size, you see that high to low theme come through by default. But I can go ahead and switch this over to Spike. And so now you see that I get that same default experience that you saw in the SDK. If I open up the style options, I get a lot more UI, and this is where this is a lot more helpful than what you saw in that quick demo with the code. Is I got options such as the spike shape. This matches to my symbol style, so if I want to just fill in with a solid fill, I can do that. I can use an open outline. So it's really up to you, your preference on how you want to style these spikes. I personally like the gradient fill, but you get all the same UI here, so I can make a nice round number for the top. I can maybe tone down the height of the max symbol and make these a little shorter. And the nice thing here is in our symbol styler, I also have the ability to use any of the existing color ramps available for our color styles here in the gradient fill. So if I can select, let's say, this color ramp, I'll flip the colors, and I can use that gradient fill here. On top of that, I can also change the colors to whatever I want. So I can actually customize to my own color ramp. And so I've toned that down, and I've got a nice spike map here that shows the average upland cotton production per year. And all I have to do is save this map in Map Viewer, and I can grab this web map ID and then reference this in a JavaScript application where I bring in my map component. And then if I refresh the page, you can see that spike map comes through. So this code is a lot more simple than this code here. And in addition to that, what we're doing on the smart mapping side is we're actually generating a sim symbol with different symbol layers and geometric effects, which can be a very tedious experience to have to create on your own as a developer or even to modify. So that's why when you use Map Viewer to make those changes, so if I were to go back in here and say I actually didn't like this gradient, I want to switch it to a different one, I don't actually have to make code modifications for that. I just have to go into the nice UI. It took me about 5 seconds there, and then I refresh, and those colors come through very nicely. I don't have to make any modifications. So that's the new Spike theme. I hope people try it out and enjoy it. And that's all I've got. Back to you, Emily.
Great. Thank you, Christian. So yeah, next up, Noah, can you share your updates?
Absolutely. All right, there's my screen. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Christian. So I want to talk about two enhancements. The first is labeling multi-point geometries. So if you're familiar with our labeling story, you know that almost every release we're making updates, making enhancements, and making things more better. And this is one of the most long-standing enhancements we've had for a while, and that's the support to label multi-point geometries. If you're not familiar, a multi-point geometry is essentially a collection of the same feature that exists in different geographic locations. So if you think about a soccer or a football stadium, all the different entrances, they have similar properties, but they actually exist in different locations in space. So we can look at a real world example. So this is showing water valves in the city of Toronto. This is not an endorsement for water. Other utilities are available. But what's really nice here is that there are a lot of water valves in the city, and the city of Toronto exports a lot of their data in this multi-point geometry. And now we have the ability to label that. So what we're looking at here is points with two different labels. The first label is the type or the purpose of the water valve. So we have service and we have distribution. And the second part is the type. And we have two types. We have gate and we have butterfly. And we can scroll down the road and we can see all the different points that we have. And so this is a huge benefit to our API and to our labeling. And just to prove it, I'll show you the actual layer, and we can see geometry type. Geometry type is Esri geometry multipoint. All right, so the second update I want to share with you is directions printing. So we've given directions, both the widget and the component, a lot of love lately. And at this release, we also offer printing in beta. So essentially what you'll get is the ability to print turn-by-turn directions while we gather feedback and requirements from all our users about what sort of information they want to see and be able to customize with the directions printing. So I'll show you a quick demonstration. This is in Chicago, where I'm based. So this is a common route going from Sears Tower to Navy Pier to the John Hancock Building. And if I come down to the completed route, I can click the 3 little buttons and come to the print button. I can print that, and then I'll see a preview of the turn-by-turn directions. And if I hit print again, it'll bring me to the actual printer interface, and I can see those turn-by-turn directions. And what's really cool is because we use components, the code for this is really simple. So I just want to show you real quick. So essentially, we're adding in our directions component, and then we're bringing in a route layer saved as a portal item. And this is all the code that's required. All we have to do is bring in the route layer, associate the route layer with our view element, and then associate it with the directions component, and we've got a fully functional directions component. You can also accomplish this easily in the sandbox with our sample. Come down to the 3 dots, you can click the print. And then there's one last thing I want to show you. For the print widget, you can actually turn that print option off if you're worried about saving paper. If we come down here, you can notice there is no print button. And that's because in our visible elements property, we can come down to the directions widget, and we can see that in the visible elements, we've set the print button to be false so that it won't actually display, so that maybe during the beta phase or for our purposes, we don't want to allow directions printing yet. So those are my 2 enhancements for the 4.33 release. And now I think we'll check back in with Emily.
This is awesome. Thank you, Noah. Next up, Anne is going to share our programming pattern updates.
Awesome. All right, sharing my screen. All right. Hey, everyone. So the 4.33 release was full of quite a few programming pattern updates. Let's get into it. The first one is that we have a new CDN endpoint for components. So this entry point is simpler and more consistent with the core API. So if you look at the old programming, the old endpoint here, you see that it was the js.arcgis.com, and then the component package, in this case, map components, then the version number, and then the entry point file name. In the new endpoint, you'll notice it's a lot more consistent with the core API. So here we have the, again, js.arcgis.com, then we have the version number, which matches the core API, and then the component package. And that's all you need. And this applies to the map components, coding components, any of the other component packages that are available. So that's the new endpoint. The old endpoint is still available in redirecting at this release, but we recommend that everyone updates to the new endpoint. The next thing I want to talk about, or first I'll say that this, we're looking at an application that's built with components. So here we're just to show you again how simple this all is. I know we keep preaching about components and how great they are, but it really is quite simple to just get started and build an application really fast. So I'm bringing in my web map by this item ID, adding a few different components like the zoom, the expand component in the bottom left with the base map gallery in it, and then using ArcGIS placement to place some custom content in the top right corner. The next programming pattern that I want to talk about is ArcGIS import. Now, this isn't something that's new at this release, but it is something that you're going to start seeing a lot more as of this release. So this is a global function that is just a more modern replacement for the AMD require that allows you to import modules from the core API into your application. So you'll notice that we're using this type module in our script tag, which allows for top level await. So here I can just add the name of my module that I want to use in my application, and then await this ArcGIS import function and pass in the module that we want to access, in this case, reactive utils. And this will return a promise that with the requested module. Cool thing about this is it's just one line of code. You don't have to wrap your entire application in that require function. And you can also import multiple modules at once. So let's say I wanted to import both reactive utils and the map function. Then instead, I would do the same thing, but just pass an array of all of the different modules that I want to use. So really cool enhancement there. Next, we have a new method on the map component, on scene component, and link chart component that's called view on ready. And this is equivalent to or similar to view.when in the core API. So it's just waiting for the view to be ready, and then you can go ahead and do things. So yeah, here we're just waiting for the element to be the map component to be ready, and then we can go ahead and start watching for different properties or state changes on that component. This is similar to the ArcGIS View Ready Change event, but a little more friendly if you're using vanilla JavaScript applications with the CDN, whereas this one is the ArcGIS View Ready Change event is probably more friendly if you're building applications with like React or different frameworks. And the final enhancement that I want to talk about is the ability to use reactive utils with map components. Reactive utils is a class in the core API that allows for watching for property changes or state changes or anything like that. And you can now use them with any of the component packages. So this is just as simple as importing that reactive utils up above, like I showed earlier with the ArcGIS import. And then we can use watch to see when the map element is ready. And you'll notice that for each of these, I'll just display the changes here in the top corner. The nice thing about this, whereas like you can probably already watch for the map to be ready using some of the component events that are available, but reactive utils allows you to watch multiple properties at once. So if I want to watch for changes to the zoom, scale, and stationary properties on the map element, I can watch for all of those within this one method and then make my changes here. So you'll see as I zoom, we'll see these things update. As I pan, you'll see stationary change from true to false. So all of that is happening super fast. And the last thing is with reactive utils, I mean, there's a lot that you can do. This isn't the last thing, but the last thing I'll show is that you can also watch for nested properties. So we can see the map component's base map's title change. So we can watch for that nested property. And as I change the base map, you'll see that will update the title here. So yeah, those are my quick updates on some of the new programming pattern changes. We hope that these make your lives a lot easier as developers. Thank you. Back to you, Emily.
Great. Thank you, Anne. Yeah, we are seeing questions coming in from the chat. We're going to answer them. And if there's any ones we can't get to them, we will answer them in the comment section. And if you want to share any like feature, any enhancement request, you can post them in ArcGIS ideas. That's a great place to have a good write-up for your questions, and we will look at all of them. So yeah, and at the very last, I'm going to have like a UC call out. Oops, before that, we have a question, we have a poll. Please put in an answer about if you have been developing with components. It is a great addition, and Esri, we have full commitment to that transition. So it will be a great time to start. And I'm going to share some update about UC. So UC is coming. So UC is coming in next week, and we have this. They have this aggregation of web development sessions at UC. It is linked in the description in this YouTube live stream. We have a good amount of sessions for you to explore. One big one I want to call out is the Developer Summit at UC. So we're going to have a general session covering the local no-code options and our JavaScript Maps SDK. And in the afternoon, we will have a great sessions about what's new in road ahead and how to use components to build your applications. Also, please feel free to find us in the showcase area if you're coming to San Diego. So we're in the developer section near the ArcGIS apps and ArcGIS data. You can just find us, the JavaScript Maps SDK for JavaScript and the Calcite design system. That's all. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please feel free to post it in the chat and or the comment section, and post your feature request in the ArcGIS idea. And thank you so much for joining.
So yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.